Okay, so let's talk about art. This is my space. This is where I create things, I tell stories, but as you can see, there's also a lot of different art pieces hanging up, from postcards to photographs to paintings. But I've been thinking a lot about two pieces in particular that I want to show you. And the first piece is this one. And yeah, I know it's a Lego piece, but it's actually of a painting called The Great Wave of Kanagawa by Hakuzai. And the second piece is this one. It's actually by my friend Samantha, who I'm going to link all of her stuff below. And the reason I keep these hanged up in my room is because they remind me of a phrase, a simple reminder that I think is really important for artists and is the reason that I'm telling this story right now. Burn the boat. Okay, so the year is 1519 and Conquistador Hernan Cortez and 600 of his men have just landed in the Gulf of Mexico. And I want to preface this story by saying I'm not advocating for global imperialism or Spanish conquest by telling this. I just think that there's a really amazing story inside of this larger conversation about Hernan Cortez. And that's the focus of this video and why I think it's really important for artists to learn. And so Cortez and his men of largely conscripted conquistadors have spent nearly 6 months at sea. And every try to take over the Aztec land before this has failed miserably, in fact. And so they're going into unknown waters on a journey that they don't even know will work. And this is why I keep Hakuzai's painting hung up in my room. The painting Great Wave of Kanagawa is actually a part of a larger collection that Hakuzai completed in the 1800s called 36 Views of Mount Fuji. And most of the other paintings in the collection are beautiful and serene depictions of life in Edo, Japan, and the view of Mount Fuji. Many of the paintings are from the top of hilltops or rice paddies looking out at Mount Fuji. But there's one, and it's the one that we think of the most when we think of the collection: the Great Wave. The Great Wave shows a different depiction, though. It shows an unforgiving journey, one filled with tsunamis and crashing waves and holding onto the ship for dear life. But there in the background is something beautiful, a depiction of Mount Fuji waiting for you to arrive at shore. And so Cortez and his men land at the beaches of the Gulf of Mexico. And at this point, they are tired and drained and don't want to go to war. And so Cortez rallies his men, and most of them are expecting a traditional, we're going to war and we're going to make conquest for gold cheer. Instead, he looks at his men and he looks out to the ships that they came on, and he says one simple phrase: burn the boats. And his men were confused and terrified. What do you mean, burn the thing that will be our only escape if we don't win, if we don't make it? That was his point. He wanted to craft a message of intention, of saying, we're not going back. We're going to make this work, whether it's the last thing that we do. And I know, again, I don't want to talk about conquest and imperialism in this video, but I do want to talk about what that means for artists and for creatives. I think that there's this narrative that everything has to be planned out before doing it. And I don't think that's a valid narrative in the artistic endeavor. I believe that for a lot of artists and a lot of creatives, there's just a lot of unknowns. There's things that might work, they might not, but the only way that we'll know is by diving into them full-heartedly. You can't go half-hearted into this space. Trust it. Burn the boats. Be able to create something that means something to somebody, not because you can, but because you must. I'm not trying to make a video that says quit your job, burn all ties to safety and anything like that. But I do want to tell a story about creating things out of intention. Leave yourself no other option as if there isn't another option. I think we focus a lot on plan Bs and creating safety nets and things, and that's amazing sometimes, but other times you need to just make the thing. One of the hardest lessons I give to writers is about the fact of how do I become a better writer? You write. You read, you try again and again and again, and eventually it will work. I don't know when or how, but it will. There has to be a moment in time where you just say, this is my option. This is the thing. The waters won't be calm. There won't be easy waves where you look at everything from the hilltop or the rice paddy, but there will be a moment when we finally make it to shore and everything has come so far and we are left with one decision again. Do we keep going forward into the unknown? Or do we go back? And the easier answer is saying burn the ships. We're not going back. We're going forward. And I think that was the lesson that I take a lot from Hernan Cortez's story. Again, nothing else of the conquest thing. But I asked my friend Samantha to illustrate this photograph, and I keep both of them hung up in my room as just a simple reminder when it feels like all else is going wrong. When you've gone through the terrible journeys that have come so far and you've been working and struggling and going, and it feels like you should just give up, put in the towel, and walk back home, or take a ship back home. Burn the boat.